She's coming from inside the deep state that deals with health. There's no doubt about that. Zero doubt about that. It's not the resume, like I said, I would have most wanted to see. And I think, frankly, as a non-physician and the first non-physician since 1953, she's going to have, it's not going to be easy for her.
There's a new CDC director.
Yeah,
there it is.
Today, confirmed. Yeah, we can talk about her.
Congratulations, Dr. Suzanne Manarez, PhD, on her Senate confirmation on the 21st director of the CDC. So I just want to show Secretary Kennedy tweeted out that, so there's a lot of pushback against her becoming the CDC director. He says Twitter posts that erroneously attribute Biden-era tweets supporting masks, lockdowns, vaccine mandates to my CDC director nominee Suzanne Manarez have understandably provoked agita within the MAHA movement. I handpicked Susan for this job because she is a longtime champion of MAHA values and a caring, compassionate. Yeah, she's a longtime champion of MAHA values, and as soon as she receives her mRNA shot, she'll be ready to assume the position, if you know what I mean. But Mary Bowden did not like it. She quoted her RFK saying the FDA has approved the mRNA vaccines as safe and has demonstrated efficacy associated with them. We can have the confidence that we can put it in ourselves and our children, Secretary Kennedy. And then also, I handpicked Susan for this job because she is a longtime champion of MAHA values. So she's quoting Susan Manarez being very pro the mRNA vaccines, and then she's contrasting that with RFK saying he handpicked her. And so here's so the CDC, so there's, I just want to give you some of the pushback, and then we're going to bring in our guests to give us the straight dope on this. The CDC is not what it was. It's become a firewall between you and real health. Dr. Susan Manarez is no rookie. She's led in biosecurity, disaster prep, and tech. But that's the point. Public health is shifting from prevention to containment, from food-based healing to biotech solutions. Also, this is an account called Doge AI. And so this is interesting. The Public Health Improvement Act represents a critical overhaul of the CDC operation. Section 3 strategic plan limitations force the agency to focus strictly on communicable diseases rather than bureaucratic mission creep into non-health domains. Transferring 8 major offices to the National Institute of Health, or the NIH, under Section 7 streamlines public health functions while cutting redundant bureaucracy. The National Center for Chronic Disease Prevention alone had $1.2 billion budget with questionable outcomes on obesity and diabetes rates. Manarez's confirmation aligns with Section 2's 12-year term limits, ensuring leadership accountability. While the Senate debate exposed partisan tensions, the structural reforms finally imposed fiscal discipline on an agency that spent $12.3 billion last year with 47 separate programs duplicating state health department functions. This legislative executive synergy between Trump's appointees and congressional Republicans demonstrates how serious governance can rein in bloated institutions. So let me bring in our guest to talk about this, Mary Holland. She's the author, speaker, and she's the CEO of Children's Health Defense, an organization focused on legal strategies to defend children's health and obtain justice for those injured. Before joining CHD in 2019, she taught at NYU School of Law for 17 years and lectured at Columbia Law School on international human rights advocacy. Welcome back to the show, Mary. How are you?
I'm good. Good to be here. It was an interesting day.
So what do you make of this? So because a lot of people are saying she's a globalist. Here's another person, Ann Matson. She's host of If People Only Knew. And she says, what a disaster she is. And then Dana Paris says, I quit. And then Champagne Joshi, he has a whole thread, and we'll get to it in a second. He says she's not a doctor. She's not a frontline scientist. She's a biotech insider who spent 20 years building public-private partnerships between the feds and big pharma. So what do you say?
Yeah, so I want us to recall, Jimmy, that Bobby Kennedy's first pick, Congressman Dave Weldon, a physician, had been outspoken when he was in Congress about vaccines and their likely or their possible connection to autism. And you'll remember that his confirmation hearing was called off 5 minutes before the hearing because it was clear they didn't have the votes. So Susan Manarez had been acting as the acting director of the CDC since January when Trump and Kennedy came in. And what I've understood, and Kennedy himself has put this out there in an X, is that she's been very helpful. Now, she's not a doctor. She's definitely been in on, the DARPA of health. She's definitely connected to the bioweapons world. There's no question about that. Her expertise is in artificial intelligence. And if Kennedy is going to get done what he wants to get done in a very short period of time, and he's gotten a lot done in the first couple months, he's going to need to be assessing all of the Medicaid, all of the Medicare records that he has access to, and looking at what are the correlations. Do these medicines work or not? Do these vaccines work or not? Do they cause autism or not? Do they cause Parkinson's? Do they do what do they all do? So my understanding is he did handpick her. He does trust her. The key people in his administration trust her. And I think for those of us who have worked with Bobby Kennedy, as I have for a long time outside of his office now at HHS, I think he has to have the benefit of his picks. It wasn't going to be easy, Jimmy, to get anybody confirmed. This is the first time the CDC director has been subject to congressional confirmation. That was something that the Biden administration did to basically thwart whatever the next administration would want to do. So do I have reservations? Yes. Candidly, I am very concerned. Her resume is not exactly the resume that, I would have wanted. It's certainly not Dave Weldon's resume. But she is the person that Bobby Kennedy wants in that job. And the most important thing is we now have a director at the CDC. It's been rudderless since January.
So you're putting a little faith in RFK's judgment. You're putting faith in that she's there to fulfill his agenda, and she's an expert on AI, and so he wants to use a lot of AI to generate a lot of data that
to
he
make
can
decisions.
To make decisions, right?
Right, to make decisions. And remember that he's told us that by September, he's going to give us the first line answers about what's causing the autism epidemic, now affecting 1 in 31 kids. And he's also going to be having to submit the strategy report for Make America Healthy Again. That's coming up soon. And so he needs support. He needs somebody in the job. And he obviously has a lot of faith in her.
So let me just read a little bit more from Champagne Joshi's thread. She's been embedded in BARDA. Can you tell people what BARDA is?
Yeah, BARDA is really the sort of bioweapons location within HHS. No question it's connected to the security agencies during the Biden administration and the first Trump administration. They were, cheerleaders for COVID. They were cheerleaders for some of the worst medical interventions. BARDA is not our friend.
So she's been embedded in BARDA, DHS, the NSC, ARPA-H, and now she's poised to lead the CDC. Yeah. So that's got a lot of people nervous. And so let's see. She began in government in 2006 at the American Association for the Advancement of Sciences, which is the AAAS. Policy Fellowship Program, a program that is lauded for promoting science diplomacy. It serves as a fast track to influential positions at the highest levels of government. Well, she certainly got there pretty fast. And here's where it gets interesting. At BARDA, she helped stand up Project BioShield, funneling billions into pharmaceutical countermeasures for theoretical CBRN, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear threats. BARDA stands for Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. Project BioShield is the same program that gave us those shady COVID vaccine contracts, the same one that built the pandemic industrial complex. So this is the problem people have. There's a little bit more. Here's a brief background of the Project BioShield. It was we didn't need to go into that. So she's been she's been in BARDA. So that's why a lot of people are calling her a deep state mole. And Operation Warp Speed in 2020 used BARDA as its funding hub, deploying over $2 billion to vaccine developers, including Moderna and AstraZeneca. BARDA's Project NextGen, a sub-initiative, extends contracts to developers using cutting-edge tech. GeoVax received $24 million. So this is all the funding that she was a part of at BARDA.
Yeah, she's coming from inside the deep state that deals with health. There's no doubt about that. Zero doubt about that. It's not the resume, like I said, I would have most wanted to see. And I think, frankly, as a non-physician and the first non-physician since 1953, she's going to have, it's not going to be easy for her. But, I do believe that Kennedy has an agenda to make America healthy again. This was not his first choice, but it's been a strong second choice, and she's now confirmed. It would have been very hard, Jimmy. This was a vote along party lines. It was completely along party lines. It's not going to be easy to get anybody confirmed, candidly.
So this is from Time Magazine. Time Magazine said that she is the right choice to lead the CDC, which makes everyone uncomfortable when you see.
That makes me uncomfortable, right? When Time Magazine says it, yeah, I hear you. I think there's real reasons for concern. She's going to have to prove to the people who really are behind Make America Healthy Again and getting out of the bioweapons business when it comes to health. She's got something to prove, that she really is in this for health and not for public-private partnerships and making tons of money for vaccine manufacturers and other countermeasures.
So I'll just a few more slides. As previously mentioned under Obama, she moved into the White House National Security Council at the OSTP. That's the Office of Science and Technology Policy. Her job, coordinating pandemic preparedness and building biomedical surveillance tools like telehealth and remote diagnosis. It just so happens that those things became very popular and were normalized during the COVID pandemic. So let me do one more. She also ran international health cooperation efforts through the Department of Homeland Security and the OECD. They are said to be foster. They are, how come I can't read this? They are said to foster bilateral and multilateral collaboration in health research and innovation. These are those public-private partnerships again. She served as Deputy Assistant Secretary for Strategy and Data Analysis, overseeing research portfolios for Homeland Security advanced research projects and managing $70 billion budget. Think NATO for bureaucrats and pharmaceutical execs. So you're saying that this is the best we could get confirmed. That's what you're saying. And so that's why she's able to. No, you're not saying that?
Well, I'm not saying. I can't speak to that, Jimmy. This is the person that Bobby nominated after his first choice could not get the votes. It's somebody that he and his close team have worked with for at least 6 months, maybe longer. And they believe that she has a skill set, despite some very concerning things in her past. I think it's relevant that she's worked for Republican and Democrat administrations over many years in the federal health bureaucracy. She certainly knows her way around the health bureaucracies, and particularly the bioweapons area. It doesn't give me comfort, but I do believe that, Kennedy needs the benefit of the doubt when he is picking the people who are going to run the key positions.
Okay, well, we're not saying she's a vampire. We're just saying that she has worked for vampires for sure.
She has. I think that's exactly right, Jimmy. She has worked for vampires, in my view. And so she's going to have to prove that she's not in league with the vampires.
And so we'll be keeping an eye on her. Champagne had so much stuff to say about her. She's a pharma. He calls her she's not a health regulator. He says she's a pharma venture capitalist with federal clearance. Ginkgo Bioworks, by the way, is notorious for being a systemic biology Frankenstein factory, and she gave them millions to redesign the pharmaceutical supply chain via wheat germ cell factories. Boy, Champagne Joshi doing a deep dive on this.
Yeah. Well, that's good. No, she's deep in. There's no question about that.
So there hasn't been any financial disclosures yet. Her decades of industry coordination, funding disbursement, and biotech evangelism demand scrutiny. The revolving door may not be literal, but the results are the same. She's the embodiment of regulatory capture. This is according to Champagne Joshi. Throughout her career, she has directed investment into risky tech, often bypassing normal clinical trial procedures, and is now being handed the reins to recommend and influence the research of products she championed and funded. The role exerts massive influence over markets, over mandates, and public behavior, and her demeanor during the Senate hearing, tepid, calculated, careful, not to challenge any public health or sacred cows, a seasoned technocrat playing diplomat. And here's our last slide on this. This isn't just about one woman. It's about a transformation of public health into an army of military-industrial complex. Through ARPA, H, and BARDA, and now the CDC, the biomedical state is fusing with the national security state. And they just promoted one of their own to one of the highest positions in the land. The convergence of her extensive industry coordination experience, her role in these agencies that explicitly partner with pharmaceutical companies, and her diplomatic approach to potentially controversial health policies creates a constellation of potential conflicts that merit careful scrutiny and assumes leadership of the nation's premier public health agency. Whose interests will she serve? Because her record says not yours, not mine, not public health, but biotech, pharma, and the architects that built this machine. But you're not supposed to know that. So, all right. The one bright spot in the Trump administration has been HHS, and they're not moving as fast as lots of people want them to move, but RFK knows something about bureaucracy and how to beat them because he's beaten them his entire career. And so he has to cross his T's and dot every I and make sure he's got all the data in place. So when he wants to make a big change, he cannot be credibly challenged. And so I'm still saying that for the first time in my life, the HHS is going in the right direction under RFK. So I guess I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He did handpick her. She must have this kind of insight and expertise that he needs. And again, it's not your first choice. It's not our first choice. It's not MAHA's first choice. No. A lot of people are afraid of this, but we'll see.
And I think I think those are intelligent comments by Champagne Joshi. And I definitely think we should watch this closely. She's not acting as, rogue. She has to answer to HHS secretary. And as we saw in the other event today, a very high level official at FDA was ousted. So it's not like there won't be oversight. I think there will be close oversight, and we should definitely be watching it.
Okay. All right. So there we do. We got I wasn't even aware, I had mistakenly thought that Jay Bhattacharya was in charge of the CDC and Makari was in charge of the FDA, but of course he's in charge of the NIH. And when I looked into them, I'm like, what? They don't already have a CDC director? No, they haven't had a CDC director this whole time. And in fact, it's been kind of RFK been acting as a default kind of CDC director. So
correct, which has its problems for sure.
Come see us in Oxnard, California, Rutherford, New Jersey, Manhattan, New York, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Appleton, Wisconsin, Rosemont, and Chicago, Illinois. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.